welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be looking at the puzzle on the screen, which is by grkles. It's called Progress, and we've had this recommended to us about 15 times since it's been published, and apparently this is quite approachable, this one. It's sort of a bit of a play on Killer Sudoku with some consecutive cage rules. And I'll read the rules in a moment, but yeah, it's meant to be doable. So we'll see how we go. Now, apologies if I'm looking rather sunburnt today. This was the fault, well, it was the fault of me for forgetting to put sun cream on, but I spent a beautiful day yesterday. We had just a gorgeous weather here in the UK. At this place, St George's Hill Golf Club, absolutely beautiful. So that is why I'm looking a bit like I glow. Now, what else do I need to mention? There are a few things. I need to say a very happy birthday today to, let me get the name right, Isabel. Now, Isabel, your friend Mariana wrote to us. I think you're both from Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, and I think about a decade ago you bonded over Lord of the Rings. And there is no better thing, literally no better thing to bond over than that. And now you've recently found a mutual love of Sudoku. So, Isabel, I hope you have a brilliant day today with lots of cake. Now, the next thing I should mention actually relates to grkles. And this is our June reward over on Patreon. We have something, well, just quite extraordinary for you. Do I have a picture? Well, I sort of have a picture. The Paint by Numbers Institute. And you may remember this if you've been a patron for a while, because we had an extraordinary Paint by Number Institute sort of Sudoku hunt a few months ago, created by Panthera and TheAsylum. Well, Panthera and TheAsylum have now been joined by grkles to create not one but two Sudoku hunts. Both of them are based around Japanese sum Sudoku, which is one of these beautiful forms of Sudoku, which I really love, because you always get a picture in your grid at the end of each puzzle. And we have two packs for you. There's sort of the standard pack and then the doctoral pack, which is full of incredible, well, harder puzzles. Not brutally hard, just harder puzzles. And there are a lot of puzzles in each pack. This is something really, really incredible that we're going to be sharing with you. When I say a lot of puzzles, I think the doctoral pack has something like 30 puzzles in it. It's a lot. And we're going to be offering prizes for both packs. So join us on Patreon for this. It'll go live on the 1st of June, which is just a week away. And there's going to be solution videos for every single one of the puzzles as well, which is just incredible. We're so grateful to these three setters. These are three world-class setters who've spent their own time creating this for you guys. So we really, really hope you enjoy it. We're sure that you will. Now, I will read you the rules of Progress, and they are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits in a cage may not repeat. And in addition, cages which touch orthogonally have consecutive sums. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment. And then digits separated by a black dot have a ratio of 1 to 2. So we've got two little dominoes with black dots in them. So that means if this square is a 4, this square would either have to be a 2 or an 8, because basically what this rule about ratios mean is that one of the cells must be double the other one. That's a simple way of thinking about it. Now let's think about this. Cages which touch orthogonally have consecutive sums. So let's look at this cage. Now let's imagine this cage added up to 21. I have no way of notating that. But if I did, and this cage was 21, then this cage would either have to sum to 22 or to 20, as would this cage here. So that's how the rule works, and this is all the information we get. So we don't get given any cage to start us off. We're just going to have to deduce. I can see how we might be able to do at least a little bit. We're going to have to deduce what's going on. Now, do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the way I can see we might be able to do something is with the power of the secret. Now, do you know the Sudoku secret? If not, don't worry, I'm going to tell you what it is, because I always tell my favourite people my secrets, especially this one. And the secret is that any complete column indeed any complete row or any complete box of a Sudoku will, because of the rules of Sudoku, contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. So if you add up the numbers 1 to 9, you get 45. So that must be interesting in the context of column 9 here, where we have just 3 cages, and we know that the sum of those 3 cages is 45. So we know that the average cage down this column is equal to a 15 sum. And that means, I think, this must be 14, 15 and 16 for the cage totals. I'm just pausing there to check that I agree with myself. If they're consecutive, that must be right. That must be right. So the middle one must be 15. And then it's got a 14 and a 16, or a 16 and a 14. It would be much more useful if this one was 16, because then it would have to be 7, 9. But we know that this is a 15 cage now. Okay, I am going to attempt to pencil mark that. If I put 1 and 5 like that, then we can remember this is a 15 cage. And so this one is 14 or 16. Okay, so if this was 14, this cage, this cage could either be 15 or 13. I don't think it could be 13. No, it's a 5-cell cage. The minimum number that 5 digits add up to is 15, so it is at least a 15 cage. So if this is a 14 cage, this is a 15 cage, and these two squares, by the secret, have to add up to 16, and they would be 7 and 9. And okay. Oh, okay, no. So if this is a 16 cage, this could be a 17 cage or a 15 cage. And if it's a 17 cage, 16, 17, these would add up to 12, which is a bit less useful. Okay, well, let's try the bottom cages then. So we've got 15, we've got 14 or 16 here. 16 is difficult. 16 is very difficult. 16. In fact, how could 16 work? Because if you think about it, we know that the average, if this is a 16 cage, the average of these 3 cages must be 15 at the minimum. We could go 16, 15, 14 as the absolute minimum. And 16, 15 and 14 is the same as this column, which we know adds up to 45. And what we cannot do is put 0 into a Sudoku box. So this is a 14 cage. This is a 15 cage, and this is a 16 cage to make this column add up to the right number. So that is a 7-9 pair to add up to 16. We know that this is 15 or 17. So if this is 15, these are adding up to 14 and would have to be 6 and 8. But if this is 17, these have to add up to 12, and they have to be 4 and 8. So I think there is an 8 in these two cells. 16, 17. Yeah, that seems right, doesn't it? Because we can't, if this is adding up to 12, we can't use 5, 7 or 3, 9. Now, let's come back down here, though. If we've got 14 cage here, so the minimum we can now have is 14, 13, 12, with this being a 6, because 14, 13 and 12 add up to 39. But we could sort of oscillate, couldn't we? We could have 14, 13, 14. Why couldn't we do that? We probably could. So that would be 41, and this would be a 4. Or we could do 14, 15, 14. And that would be 43, and this would be a 2. And that is slightly 14, 15, 14. Yeah, okay, sorry, I don't know if we can do better than that. So 14, so the minimum value of this is 12. Ah, no, right, sorry, okay, this, is perhaps... No, alright, I'm going to forgive myself slightly here. Right, what I think we've got to do is look at this cell, which is connected through the medium of mad cages to this domino, which adds up to at least 12 we've just worked out. Well, in fact it is 12, because this cannot add up to more than 9. So let's max this cage out at 9. This has therefore a maximum value of 10. This has a maximum value of 11, and this cannot be less than 12 because this is a 14 cage. So this is 12, which means this is 13, which means now we've got 39. We get a digit there. That's a 6. And we know that this is a 10 cage. Now, that might be tricky to... that doesn't work. 0, 1. Or maybe if I put 0, 1, I'll remember. That means 10. And this is 11. I don't have any way of doing that. So, actually, maybe I could do it like that. This is an 11 cage. This is a 10 cage. This is a 12. This is a 13. This is a 14. This is a 15. This is a 16. 9, 12, 13, 14. Okay. And this is very funny, because now I'm going to approach this problem from the other direction. We've gone along the bottom. What happens if we go around the perimeter, sort of to the north and then the east? Well, we have got to somehow connect a 9 cage with a 16 cage. Let's max out everything. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have to do that. So this is a 0, 1 cage or a 10 cage. This is an 11 cage, which we're going to do like this. This is now a 12 cage. This is a 13. This is a 14. And this is a 15. And that's a 15 cage in 5 cells. So actually we know what goes in that cage, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which means this is a 6, 8 pair. I don't know if I want to pencil mark 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into these cells. I think we'll just remember that. So this is 6, 8. No, okay. So if this is 6 or 8, I don't think it's putting undue pressure on these 3 digits. This is a 14 cage. It's either 5, 9 or 6, 8. And... oh, this is right. This is so pretty. Good grief. Right. We can basically almost fill in all the cage values now. Look, we've got an 11 cage here and a 15 cage here, connected to one another by 3 little Tetris pieces. And 3 little Tetris pieces therefore have to be 12, 13, and 14 in order to get from 11 to 15 in a consecutive way. So we've almost got this down to being a killer Sudoku now. So this cage is, I think, the last cage. So this is 13 or 15. Well, if it was 15, those 4 cells would add up to 29, and they would have to be 5, 7, 8, 9. But if it's 13, they have to add up to 27, and that's a lot less interesting. They'd have to have a 9 in them. So there's always a 9 in these cells. So there's always a 9. Oh, I can't really do it like that. There's always a 9 in one of these cells. And that's because if you try and make 27, which is the minimum value of those 4 cells, without using 9, you will get into problems, because 8, 7, 6, and 5 only add up to 26. A 12 cage has got to have a 1 and a 2 in it. A 13 cage has to have a 1 in it. And a 14 cage doesn't have to have a 1 in it, because it could be 2, 3, 4, 5. And... okay, sorry, let me just think about this for a moment or two. 9, I'm wondering about Sudoku. I know I try and not resort to Sudoku until absolutely necessary, but... oh, yeah, okay, 9. Where does 9 go in that box? It goes there. Can't go in a 13 cage, because the minimum digits we could accompany the 9 with would be 1 plus 2 plus 3, which add up to 6, and 9 plus 6 is 15. 9 can't go in an 11 cage, so I think the 9 goes here. Now, the 9 can't go in this 14 cage by Sudoku. So 9 is either in the 12 cage with a 3 beneath it, or 9 is in the 13 cage, which would have to have a 1 and a 3. So there's no 3 in the 14 cage. And 7... no, okay, 7 could go in either the 12 or the 13 cage, so I think we've got to spot something else. Oh, right, okay. Column 1. Now I know what all of these cages add up to, we can just do some maths using the 45 secret, can't we? Because we've got 21, 21, which is 42. So these add up to 42, which means this is a 3 in order to make the column add up to 45. Now this is part of a 10 cage. Let's actually reinstate that 10 here. So these two digits have to add up to 7. Oh, no. Right, okay. I keep missing easy things. Look, this cage adds up to 10. This cage adds up to 11. That's 21. So these 3 cells add up to 24 in 3 cells. So that's 7, 8, 9. And that's an 8 in the corner. No song for you, but at least we got an 8 in the grid. That gives us an 8 here and a 6 here. So this, what was this cage? 15 cage, wasn't it? Let's reinstate the 15. So these 3 digits add up to 9. And therefore these 2 digits add up to 6, and they're 1, 5 or 2, 4. This cell is either 3 or 5 to make this domino add up to 12. And, no, okay. And now we're stuck. Hang on a minute. Let me think about this. I've got 3 here. I need this domino to add up to 7. It's not 3, 4. So this is 1, 6 or 2, 5. Let's put that in the absence of having any better ideas. Right. Maybe interesting. Where does 1 go in column 1? It can't go in the 10 cage anymore because it would need a 9 with it. And it definitely can't go in a 12 cage because it would need an 11 with it. So 1 is in one of those 3 cells. Oh no, it doesn't quite do it. Remember there's a 1 in the 12 cage as well. But the 1 in the 12 cage could be here. So, okay, so this cell cannot be a 1, because although there's a 1 in this 11 cage, if it's here, you can't put 1 in the 12 cage. So there is a 1 here or here. Now, can we do better than that? If the 1 is there, then there's a 1 in the 12 cage here. There's a 1 in the 13 cage here. And there the trail runs cold. Okay. Oh, 9 is not there anymore, using the power of Sudoku. So 9 is in one of 2 places in box 5. It can't go in the 12 cage, for hopefully obvious reasons. Okay. Right, I see what you've done here, grkles. Do I? Yes, I do. That's beautiful. Right, okay. Now I'm going to come back to column 1 again, because the corollary of there being a 1 in the 11 cage is that the other domino in this 11 cage adds up to 10. Well, that means you can't put a 7 in it, because if you put a 7 in it, you've got to put a 3 in it. But the same exact logic applies to this 10 cage. So the question to ask is, where does 7 go in this column? And the answer is only in the 12 cage. So that's a 5-7 pair. Which means 7. Right, so 7 in row 3 now is not in these 3 cells, and it's not here because of the 7-9 pair. So it's in one of those 3 cells. That's nearly really interesting. It's interesting for this cage. That can't be 5-9 anymore, because if it was 5-9 here, you'd have to put 7 here and 7 here, and that will give us a big problem. So this is a 6-8 cage, and that means that means these 2 cells are a 6-8 pair, because that cell is not a 6 or an 8, so we can do Sudoku. There is now a 9 in this cage. Oh, yeah, this is good. Okay, so now we know what this cage is, because we worked out if this was, what was it, 15. If this was a 15 cage, you needed 5, 7, 8, and 9 in here, and now we've got a 6 in this quadruple. So we know we're not in that world. We're in a parallel universe, where we need this to be a 13 cage, therefore, without being 6, 7, or 5, 8. So that is 4, 9, which means that's not 7. Whoops, that's not 4, 9. 7 is in one of these 2 cells. 9, we've already got where the 9 is. Bother. The 13 cage now doesn't have a 4 in it. I'm seeing that. And that's because we've got a 4 here, ruling out a 4 from those 3 cells. But in the bottom row, there's a 4 in one of these 3 cells. Because we don't seem to have got a 4 in any of those cells. So 13 cage without a 4 in it. If it's got a 1 in it, we know that. Does it have to have a 2 in it? So if it was a 1, let's put some numbers in. If it was 1, 3, no 4, so 5, 6. I know that we could put the 6 here, so that adds up to too many anyway, so that's not right. So it does have to have a 2 in it. So there's a 1 and a 2 in the 13 cage, and 2 more cells that add up to 10 that don't include a 4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 7. That's the only way it will work. Now, that appears to do absolutely diddly squat, which is a bit disturbing. Oh dear. Oh, you rotten thing. Is that really right? Yeah, I don't think that there is enough interaction between this sort of... The fact I know the 12 cage has a 1 and a 2 in it. If that was here, that would have to be mirrored here, and then you'd have a 1 or a 2 up there, and that looks okay. So, wow, okay. What is it I'm meant to be spotting now, then? And it's pure killer Sudoku, isn't it? Well, I suppose with black dottage as well. We have to bear in mind that black dots might be important. But I'm not... What was this cage? This was... Yeah, this is an 11 cage, and it's got a 4 in it. So it's got 2 digits that add up to 7 in it as well. And so whatever's not used here, if this was 1, 6, this would be 2, 4, 5. If this is 2, 5, this would be 1, 4, 6. Which is great, but it's not really doing enough damage, is it? So, there's a 6 in one of these 3 cells by Sudoku. Can we use that to our advantage? I don't know. I'm a bit stuck here. Can we do anything with... Nines? Maybe 9s are somehow restricted. You can't put a 9 in a 14 cage, can you? And you can't put a 9 in those 3 cells because these 3 cells add up to 9. So 9 in this box is in one of 3 positions. Right, okay. This is it's a little interesting. I don't think it's any more than that. But where does 9 go in box 4? It's in one of those 3 cells because it can't go in the 10 cage. Well, it can't go in column 1 and it can't go in the 12 cage. So 9 is in one of those cells. So if we ask now where 9 goes in row 5, it can only go here. Why is... oh, okay, and now I've got to be really careful with my pencil marking because I was thinking that this was a 6 or a 9, but that's not what these pencil marks are saying in this puzzle. So this is a 9. Oh, okay, well that gets me that digit. Right, that's a 9, that's a 7. This was adding up to 12, so we get a 5 here. Right, okay, this was adding up to 13. It's now got a 9 in it, so that's a 1-3 pair. And these 2 squares are a 2-4 pair, therefore. Still doesn't reveal the nature of this look, but we now know how these 3 cells work. In order to make these 3 cells add up to 9, we're using 1s, 3s, and 5s. Ah, right. Ah, right. Now we're in the world of beautiful things again, I think. Because now there's a 1 in that 14 cage. Because if there was no 1 in this 14 cage, what would that 14 cage have to be? It would have to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if it was if these cells, let me try and pencil mark this. If these cells were 2, 3, 4, and 5, look, we've got 6 digits in box 6, only selectable from 5 different numbers. So we'd have to repeat a number. Another way of thinking about this is where are we going to put 6, 7, and 8 in this little conurbation here? The answer, nowhere. So that's wrong. So that means that this 14 cage does have a 1 in it, and the 1 can't interfere with this 1, 3, 5 triple, so it must go there. And that's going to be mammoth, because also, or is it? Well, it might be. We know there's a 1 in this 13 cage, which is not now here, so it's in one of those 2 cells. Ah, that gets me that digit, so that's a 3 and that's a 1. Oh, beautiful. Now look, this domino needs to have a 1 in it, so it's 1 and 6. And that cage is actually done now. So we now know this is 2, 4, 5, don't we? From the work we did earlier. So now there's no 2 in there, which means there's a 2 in here, I think. So the 2, yeah, okay, so this is not 2. This has not got 3 in it from this 3. So right, this is so lovely the way this is flowing. Now we've got 1, 7 here, which means we've got 2, 3 here. Oh, whoa, I seem to highlight a lot of things. So now we can get rid of some pencil marks, I think. 2, 3 here, 1, 7 here. 7 in box 7 can't go on a black dot, so it's got to go in that cell. And that is nearly interesting. This is a 12 cage, that's not got a 7 in it, so there's a 7 in one of those 2 cells by Sudoku. 5 in box 7. Where does that go? Again, it's not black dottable. You can't put it in a 10 cage because it will have to have as its friend a 5, and in fact there's a 5 in the column as well. So that's a 5. No. That's really nearly interesting. So I was getting quite excited then about there might be a 5-7 pair here, but 5 can go in a 12 cage. So that's not going to be good enough. 4 here means this cell's a 5 by Sudoku, so we've got a 2-4 pair at the bottom. So this column feels really congested now. maybe it's not quite congested enough. How? Oh yes, how is this 14 cage working then? If we can't use 3s and 5s in this balance. So these 3 cells, we know, have got to add up to 13 without using 1, without using 3, and without using 5. So they've got to be 2, 4, 7, and there's no 6 in the cage. That's gorgeous. So that's a 6. This is 2, 4, 7. This is 8 by Sudoku. 2. Oh, where does 2 go? In row 4. We've got a 2 in one of those 2 cells and a 2 in one of those 3 cells. So we can't put 2 in any of those. But we know this 12 cage needs a 2 in it. So the only available cell is this one. If you try and put a 2 here, you're obviously, now we've got 3. We've got 3 2s in these 2 rows of the puzzle. And that won't work. So that cell is a 2, and that's going to disturb my 12 pencil mark. Do I really need, I now know these 3 cells include a 1, don't they? Oh yes, okay. So there's a 1 in this domino now, which means this is not a 1, and it means this is a 1 now in box 6. Which I'm sure matters for some reason. Okay, let's figure out this black dot then. We've got 2, 4, oh we can't. We've got 2, 4 and 8 into these cells. But we know there must be a 4 on the black dot because we can't partner 2 with 8 because one of those is not double the other. So this is not 4. Oh, this is... grkles, just take a bow. Look, this is a 10 cage now, and this is a 2 or an 8. So that's a 2 or an 8, which means this is 1, 4, 6. We know that the 1 in this cage has to be here now, I think. Which means this is a 4, 6 pair. Now Mark's calling me on the phone, but I'm going to call him back in a minute because I think this is too beautiful for me to stop doing. That's an 8, this is a 2. This is a 4, 8 pair, which is great, which means this is a 6, this is an 8. That's a 6, that's a 1. That's the 1 now. Okay, so now these 2 digits add up. This is a 12 cage, so these 2 digits add up to 9 without being 1, 8 or 2, 7 or 3, 6. They are 4, 5. And that can't be 4, so that's 5. That's 4. These are not now 5. Now I've got to be careful with my pencil marks. 3 is the missing digit. So these are 3s, 7s and 9s. That's not able to be 9. How is this? This is presumably... oh, look, there's a 5 here. So 5, 3, 3, 2, 3, 9, 7. 7 goes here. This is a 2, 4 pair. That's a something. Not perhaps the most eloquent description of that digit, but it was sort of true. This is a 5, 7 pair, so that's 5, that's 7. That's 7, that's 1. That's 8, that's 6. That's 6 by Sudoku. This is a 3, 8 pair, which is resolved. Good grief. 8, 4 is resolved. 4, 2 is resolved. 4, 2 is resolved down here. And suddenly, we're doing okay. Now, this is a 2, 7 pair. So let's put that in. Whoa, 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 whoa. 7 and 2. This is 1, 3, 5. And that's obviously not 1. Okay, so how do we resolve this then? Oh, I see. Yeah. Look at this box here, this P pentomino. Where does 1 go in the box? It goes on the black dot. So that's a 1, 2 pair. Which means that these are 3, 4 and 5. And that must be the 3. So this is 4, 5. This 3 gives me a 5 here. A 1, 3 here. Oh, it must be done. Come on. 2 and 9 in these cells. also not resolved apparently, and these squares have therefore got to be 3 is one of them and 4 is the other, I think. So we probably have to, what's this one? 13. Oh yeah, okay, well that's not 3, because that would be 4 and we need to put a 6 here. So this is 1, this is 3, this is 1, this is 2, this is 9. That is working if I use 3 here. So 3, 4, 2 here, 9 here, 7 here, 9 here, 4 here, 4 here, 5 here, 7 here, 5 here, and hopefully 2 and 7. Ah, I nearly forgot the last 2 digits. That would be classic me. Get rid of the bluage. Click tick, and yay, we are done. Absolutely lovely. grkles, start to finish, class is how I would describe that. It's really, really got a, not only an interesting, but an elegant and satisfying logical flow. So it's, well, I think that was the start. I'm actually wondering if you were meant to start here. No, I think you had to get a handle. We had to get a handle on this domino, didn't we? And realise it couldn't be a particularly low number, because without doing that, there was no, well, in theory, this could have been a 3 cage, and that would not have put pressure on this digit. So yeah, the way into it is the way it looks like it is. You use the secret on column 9, you work out this domino has to be relatively high, and that puts so much pressure on this, that, and then you get this beautiful point, which is those cages there have to connect via consecutive sequence, and the whole perimeter gets forced. And from there, it's still lovely. I loved what was going on with the 1s and 2s in this little arrangement of Tetris here. Yeah, very enjoyable. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy reading the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.